Hello and welcome to another my NT married video where I, a neurotypical, am married to somebody who is neurodiverse, and I'm going to be filming a series of videos right now because I'm finding it really hard to find the time to film. So a previous video I talked about, well, the title jokingly was Autism Ruins Everything, and as I did then, I'll give you a disclaimer now. It's not that I think that all autistics everywhere are ruining everything. I speak specifically from my life and how it affects me. And in my life, my husband's neurodiversity has ruined so many different aspects of mine and his life. So that's where I'm going with that comment, just to let you know I don't dislike all autistic people, okay? It's not about that, just purely my experiences. And so what I wanted to talk about was foster care. Before I met him, I'd wanted to be a foster care parent for so long. I couldn't wait to be an adult and, foster. And about 10 years into the relationship, I asked him if he wanted to, and to my surprise, he said yes. Although it shouldn't be so much of a surprise because he really likes children. Anyway, so I was a bit rapt, woohoo, we're going to be foster parents. And we went through the whole procedure of vetting and everything, which was really intense. And I liked that because it showed that they cared and they were invested in picking good people to look after children. And so we go through that and then we start fostering. And he's supportive in that he said yes, but then when it came to the actual doing of the foster caring, we started to run into issues. And those issues were things like him just not having my back. If I had a specific rule, like you don't get dessert if you don't eat all your dinner, he would suddenly be telling me that's too harsh and can't you just do it this one time, da 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 da, and he'd do this kind of thing in front of the children, so they're seeing the two of us not on the same page. And things like if I needed help with something, he'd be like, well, you're the one who wanted to do this, so you do it, and stuff like that. And so it started to sort of not be as teamworky as I thought it was going to be. But the sort of catalyst for us was we had this one older boy whose mum had had an operation and was in considerable pain. So he wasn't fostered necessarily because his parents were awful or he was neglected or anything, but he had a parent that wasn't able to take care of him as well as she would have liked. And when you're in pain, you're kind of grumpy, like strict and things like this. So she didn't have a whole lot of patience. And so his experience of adults was his mum sort of being a little bit more cranky and, more stressed and stuff than usual. And so I wanted to be this really soft place for him to fall, this kind, caring woman who was firm but nice. And I couldn't be that because my husband just kept undermining me at every turn. He kept breaking the rules, like adamantly outright breaking the rules. I'm not going to do this thing with you. Like, okay, he's not allowed to have dessert because he didn't eat his dinner, but I don't agree with that rule, so I'm just going to give him dessert. And any sort of discipline or rule that I had, out the window, And so it got really sort of tense and stressful to the point where eventually the boy started to rebel against me, started to sort of push back and say things like, I don't have to do what you say, and then look into my husband as if to say, I don't want to do what she says, and things like this. And I remember one point in time I'd said something or other and he got really defiant and sort of, up in my face a little bit as if to like challenge me. And I remember thinking, this is problematic. And my partner's there and he's not simmering the boy down or anything. And so I started to realise that if this continued, it wouldn't go well. It wasn't going to end well. The little boy was starting to be rebellious. And it's not his fault. He was a delightful child, he really was. And it's kind of complicated too, because on the one hand, we'd minded him for years, and my husband had taught him to read. Even though he was sort of older, he wasn't very good at reading. I don't think anybody had ever really sat down with him and read with him. And so by the time we sort of had him, we had taught him to read and a few other things, because my husband is practical like that. He's hands-on like that. He'll do the reading and the math and the homework and things like that. But when it came to disciplining, you know, no chance. And so in the end, sadly, I ended up having to tell the foster agency that we couldn't do it anymore, because it ended up just being me being the one to do it all. And sometimes we'd have like siblings, bunches of children, and I'd be running around like a headless chook trying to get everything done while Mr. Man was watching TV. And so on the one hand, it was kind of helpful, but mostly he wasn't, and he disregarded my rules and undermined me at every turn, and in the end, ultimately blew it for us. So, I mean, we could have kept going. It just would have been too much stress on me. It was not something I could really do by myself. I needed my family's support. And it's one thing for hubby to say yes, but to not actually help, it was just far too tricky. So in the end, that fell to the wayside. Yet another dream of mine that got rained on because of my partner's personality. And I don't really know where the autism fits into this, except that, and I don't know if this is necessarily an autistic trait, I feel like it isn't, but my husband has this major desire to be liked by everyone. He doesn't like to rock boats with people, except me. He's happy to rain on me at every chance, but he wants to be liked by everybody. So he wanted to be liked by the foster kids. He didn't want to be the bad guy, the bad cop. He wanted to be the one that spoiled them, and I did all the bossing around. And that didn't actually work in the long run, because in the end, people don't have respect for the one who does the spoiling, and they can start to resent the one who does the disciplining. But it's funny because it doesn't stem to me, like he's not caring that I like him or not. Just so long as the foster kids like him, that's all that matters. So I think that stems to the fact that growing up he was bullied because of his race, and so I think that he just doesn't like to be disliked. Anyway, not sure. But anyway, that was another thing, as I said, that fell to the wayside. So he also sort of boo-hisses my garden, boo-hisses my housework, boo-hisses my parenting, boo-hisses my foster care. If I have that hope or dream, you can guarantee he's gonna rain on it. Anyway, over to you. Let me know. Can you relate? Are you in a similar situation? Or your hopes and dreams getting squished? Comment below. Love to hear from you. And thank you for watching this video.